Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. We're doing JMA Friday for today's video. So we're going to go a month ahead with the Japanese and CFS V2 models. As always on a Friday, having a detailed look at the month ahead. And this is taking us through the rest of December, and we'll just go into the start of January 2017 with this update. So we're going to go into next year, can you believe, with JMA Friday today. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles all over the page. It's have a browse through widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, going to be having to pay website. Big thanks to everybody for doing that. There's also video ads, bonus pages, which own content when you watch, close back up again. It's helping pay website. And just say about Christmas Shop, it's still there, it's still open for you. So if you've got any Christmas Shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button that says Christmas Shop, and then from there you go to our Christmas Shop page. And from there, you click through the Amazon banners, and because you're going from gas or this to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you are buying. And a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Been a huge success again this year. You still have time to get those Christmas presents out. You've been running this since the 1st of November. There's still time if you've got any Christmas shop to do at Amazon to get Christmas presents out to you. But don't leave it too much longer, because we are getting into well into December now. I think Christmas Eve is going to be 2 weeks tomorrow, so it's not going to be very much longer before the big day is rolling around. But there is still time to get the Christmas items out to you. And a big thank you again to everybody for doing that. Just say later on, I'm going to have a verification for the autumn forecast. We'll see how the autumn forecast from gasoffice.com did. We always verify our long-range forecast, or try to anyway, so we'll be doing that for you later on today. It'll be very interesting to see how the autumn forecast panned out. Don't think it was too bad, but haven't checked out the stats yet. We'll have to see how things stacked up when we got to the end of the season, and I'll do that for you later on today. Right, let's get on with JMA Friday then. So we're going to start off, as always, with 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into weekly periods. The first week period takes us from today, the 9th, through to the 16th of December. Remember that blue is extrapolated to low pressure, and the brighter colours, yellow, orange, and if you get them, red, extrapolates to high pressure. So this is actually a pretty good reflection of what's going on right now, this 500 millibar height anomaly from the JMA model. We find that we've got quite a big ridge sitting around the western part of Europe, indicated by those brighter colours. So there's a big ridge of above average heights just there. And then out to the west, we've got quite a deep trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, and also this cold trough extending down through eastern parts of Europe and Western Russia. So if you wonder where winter is, we are quite mild at the moment. If you're wondering where winter is, it's in the east of Europe. It's also into Canada with this trough up here. That's bringing a lot of cold air into Canada. That's splitting out into the Atlantic like that. Then the jet stream's going a bit like that, and then it goes south again like that. So it is very much a trough and a ridge situation. It's just that, unlike in November when we was on the cold side of the troughs and the ridges, now we've gone on to the mild side of the troughs and the ridges. This is bringing a lot of cold air, this trough, into northeastern Europe and western Russia, then plunging down the eastern side of Europe in towards southeast Europe. So I think it's already happening, but we're likely to see further reports of snow in places like Greece and Turkey. I know this annoys a lot of people who like snow in the UK when the pictures turn up on the telly and in the papers of big snow drifts, places like Athens. I know that people do get quite frustrated about it all, but it is fairly common actually that you get this kind of pattern with the cold air plunging out of Russia into the southeast part of Europe. Sometimes this will even affect parts of the Middle East as well. So that's how things are looking for the next week anyway. It looks like we're going to have a fair amount of dry weather and overall quite mild. Week 2, which takes us from the 16th to 23rd of December, looking like this. Not a huge amount of change, but if anything, the trough is being pushed a little bit further back into the Atlantic. We've still got this ridge here, which is more perhaps centred to the eastern part of the country. It's also beginning to move up towards the polar region as well. Still that cold trough across northeastern Europe, western Russia, and then down into the southeast of Europe. Again, the jet stream is going something a bit like that. It is closer to pulling in colder air bits. In fact, it could be turning cooler. We could be bringing up, although the flow does look quite southerly, we could actually be bringing up sort of cooler, not necessarily cold, but cooler southeasterly winds perhaps coming in off the continent. Still a fair amount of dry weather though with that one. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 23rd of December through to the 6th of January, through to 12th night and the start of 2017. And this one all looks a bit different. What's going on now? You notice that over on the eastern side of Europe, we've got this area of above average height. So we're losing that deep trough from the west of Russia and northeastern Europe. You notice through America as well, got above average heights going through there. So it looks like the long wave pattern is shifting a bit there. And this is probably transitional for the end of December and into the start of January. Certainly looks like a fairly significant shift is taking place in terms of the troughs and the ridges. To us, we're being placed with the trough going to the south. We've also got this area of above average height sitting over the top of the polar region. Very difficult to decipher too much from this, but I suspect we might be going on to the colder side of the jet stream there, with the jet stream and the flow maybe doing something a little bit like that. As I say, it's not a huge amount to play with, but it does look as though the troughs and the ridges are realigning there compared to what we have through the first 2 weeks, particularly week 1. And I don't think it's impossible, or I don't think it's out of the question, not impossible, that we might be bringing in cooler or maybe even colder air from sort of a northeasterly type direction with this trough cut off to the south. But as I said, it isn't a huge amount to go because the signal is quite weak. Remember, this is a 2-week anomaly, so it could be very transitional over that Christmas and New Year period. The idea for December has always been that we would have a cold start, so we have the cold opening week, then we get milder conditions through the middle part of the month, and then later in the month, towards Christmas and at the end of the month, we go back to colder conditions again. That was always the theory with the December month-end broadcast. We might have some evidence of that with the JMA this morning, but those 2 weekly anomalies are always quite hard to decipher. So this is the mid latitude and tropical view. The British Isles is just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. Again, a reminder of what's happening in week 1, which is the coming week, the 9th to 16th of December. We've got this ridge around the west of Europe and into the UK, also extends into Central Europe as well. Trough in the Atlantic, and it looks like it should be relatively mild. Let's have a look at the temperature anomaly, and whoops, that shouldn't have happened. So we'll go back down and we'll try and find the temperature anomalies again. So this is the temperature anomaly for week 1, and we find that it is significantly milder than average. There we go, significantly warmer than average, not just for the UK but for most parts of Europe as well. The east and southeast of Europe, however, you'll notice is significantly colder with those temperatures there, and going up into the western part of Russia. The rainfall signal for the coming week also looks a bit wetter than average for the far north and west, elsewhere more or less on the drier side of average. So a fairly sort of mild, dry week coming up. The week 2 anomaly, which is the 16th through 23rd of December, takes the above average heights more towards the east, with the trough to the west. Still very similar, but we thought we might decide to bring somewhat cooler air in from a southeasterly direction, perhaps from the continent. Let's see what the temperatures are doing then in this week, running up towards Christmas. And for the northern part of the country, they're still coming out milder than average. Elsewhere, they are returning closer to average. So that perhaps, particularly for England and Wales, backs up the idea that we might be starting to bring in cooler, not cold, but cooler air from the southeast. Notice again, much of east and southeastern Europe into western Russia coming out colder than average. And then we go up to precipitation for that week running up towards Christmas. And that one is coming out a little bit more unsettled for the north and west, still a bit drier than average in the south and the east. That could be very much a battle situation with low pressure trying to bring, and weather fronts trying to come in from the west, bringing rain, but coming up against a block to the east. And from the southeast anyway, you might import somewhat cooler air. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which is 23rd of December through the 6th of January. And it gets rather complicated, but it does look as though the broad pattern is shifting quite a lot. So we've got high pressure setting up over here, we've got low pressure down there. And where we've had that cold trough across the east of Europe and western Russia, we're again high pressure coming through there as well. So it does look like things are a bit different for those 2 weeks. The temperature anomalies from the 23rd of December through the 6th of January are clearly cooling down. So it's not going desperately cold, but it is cooler. And for England and Wales, you probably can't make it out that well, but it is a little bit colder than average actually down in the southern part of the country. And then for the precipitation, that is near normal. Maybe to a little bit above average precipitation down in the south. So turning colder and wetter there as we're going through the Christmas and New Year period, especially for the southern part of the country. Notice that over across eastern parts of Europe, the temperature anomaly is beginning to pick up. So where it has been cold through most of December in the east and southeast of Europe, it's beginning to turn a little bit milder there. So that does go along with the idea that we might be shifting the pattern a bit around the Christmas and New Year period. That's JMA then. This is CFS V2. Again, 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into weekly periods. The first week period takes us from the 9th through the 15th of December. We've got the above average heights there across Central Europe and extending up towards the UK, deep trough in the Atlantic, that very cold trough across the northeast Europe and western Russia, and again the flow is going like that. So this is all very much in agreement between the JMA and the CFS as to what's going on for the coming week. It looks fairly dry, but also potentially very mild. Week 2, which is the 16th to 22nd of December, again, we've got this ridge. It is going further north. It's extending more towards Scandinavia. The trough is weakening a bit in the Atlantic, and still this cold trough, although not as deep, elongating down into the east and the southeast of Europe. The flow, again, is going something like that. So we're still relatively mild there, I think, but it might be that we're starting to bring in cooler air from the southeast again as this high pressure is beginning to push up towards Scandinavia. And then we go through to week 3, which is the 23rd through to 29th of December. So this is running through the Christmas week. And we have the high pressure then, the above average height, setting up quite a bit further north. It's going up towards Scandinavia and Iceland. The trough is weakening in the Atlantic. This trough in the east of Europe is weakening as well. So the jet stream would be going something a little bit like that. And this, I think this could well be starting to pull in colder air from the east and the northeast around this ridge of high pressure. In fact, I probably need to change the colour on the highlighter because we'll be using the red colour and the anomaly is very red there. So I'll change the colour, and I think we're probably starting to bring in somewhat colder air there over the Christmas week as we shift that high pressure more towards Scandinavia and Iceland. And then finally we go through to week 4, which is the 30th of December through to the 5th of January, and this looks quite tantalising. If you want cold weather, look at this. We're taking that area of above average heights over towards Iceland and Greenland, with a trough beginning to undercut along with the jet stream. So the jet stream's going down here in towards Spain and the Mediterranean, and this will definitely be starting to pull down colder air from the east, possibly even from the north as well. So this really does look quite tantalising, that the week 4 chart. Remember, it's a long way off, 4 weeks away, but that does imply that as we get through towards the very end of December and the start of January, that would be significantly colder, I think, and possibly even a bit snowy as well. Having a look at the temperature anomalies for the next month, so week 1 comes out very significantly milder than average from the 9th to the 15th of December, going to be a mild week coming up. We go through to week 2, 16th, 22nd of December, again, that one comes out mild on average. Look how cold it is over in the east and southeast of Europe, and also in towards western parts of Russia. Really bitterly cold there, and also across much of Canada as well. Then we go through to week 3, and we find that things start to look a little bit colder then. This is for 23rd, 29th, over Christmas week. The north, Scotland and Northern Ireland, still a bit mild on average, but for England and Wales, it's going a little bit colder than average, and these colder than average temperatures are starting to extend through many central parts of Europe as well. So the cold from western Russia is beginning to push westwards across the continent. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 30th of December through to the 5th of January. And again, we find that this one is looking still a little bit mild on average for Scotland. Not sure about that at all. England and Wales is colder than average, as is the vast majority of Europe being plunged into colder than average temperatures. So we get through to Christmas and the end of December, start of January. The idea is still there that we turn things colder for the end of the month and then going through into January. If I have a look at precipitation from CFS-V2, so the next week looks a bit wetter than average in the west, a bit drier than average in the east. We move down to week 2. That just looks very significantly drier than average across all parts of the country there, running up towards Christmas. And then we get through to week 3. Remember, this is Christmas week, 23rd through 29th of December. Still comes out a little bit drier than average, as it does across most parts of Europe as well. Turning colder through this week, of course. And then week 4, which is the 30th of December through to 5th of January. Notice it is wetter than average down across Spain and Portugal. That's indicative of that southerly tracking jet stream coming through down there. For us, it's near normal with precipitation for England and Wales, and drier than average for Scotland. Also over here, we see it's drier than average. Can't really make out Scandinavia, but that's sort of the Baltic and Denmark, that area just there. And you'll notice that it is drier than average there, indicating, again, the high pressure that's over Scandinavia, bringing in those cold easterly winds. So we've still got the idea that has been in place for quite a while now, that we have this milder period. It is quite an extended mild period. It's going to be quite an extended period through the next couple of weeks. And then we get to Christmas week, the last week of December, and then on towards early January, and it looks like it's turning colder. And there's pretty good agreement between both the JMA and the CFS. The CFS is a stronger signal than the JMA, but that's because they are broken down to weekly periods with the CFS up to week 4, whereas for JMA, it's a 2-weekly anomaly for weeks 3 and 4, so it's a little bit of a weaker signal, if you like. But the broad idea is still there with most of these models, that we get to the end of December and into the start of January, and we could import some significantly colder air. Now, remember, these are all highly experimental models, so not to be relied upon. But it's a strong signal, and we'll just have to see what they're showing as we go through into next week, when we do JMA Friday next week. So, all very interesting. Hope you enjoyed the update. Remember, later on today, we'll have the verification for the autumn forecast. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.